I wish you'd been rolling just minutes ago, because from the minute Harry Hill came in the room, okay, hilarity. Hilarity is too strong a word, isn't it? But I mean, certainly amusing.
Look at the way he turns it on from a standing start.
Yeah. Remember, you can listen to the full-length episode wherever you get your podcasts.
It's a lesson in podcasting.
It's my background in local radio in Wales and shopping channel presenting.
Yeah, I forget that about you. Yeah, you were a late starter. Success came late to you, didn't it, Rob?
Yeah, very late, very late. But how much sweeter, Harry, if we have to wait for something.
Yeah.
You look very well.
Yeah, I feel very well, actually.
What makes you decide whether you're going to wear the outfit or whether you're just going to come smartly dressed?
Yeah, well, I think I only ever wear the really, actually, it's not strict. I did loose ends the other week, and I put the big collar on for that. I think if it's, I don't know.
If you have respect for the interviewer.
Yeah, perhaps that's what it is.
You weren't aware that there were going to be cameras here, were you?
Sometimes, Rob, it's as simple as just feeling a bit insecure.
Oh, let's talk about that.
If I'm being honest, and I know you like your guests to open up.
Yeah.
And give a little piece of themselves.
No one's ever cried on this, but I have a feeling today might be the start of a new chapter. The thought of you breaking down in tears while being interviewed by me is as absurd as it is very appealing.
Yeah, Rob Brydon's life stories.
Yeah. Oh, have you ever done that?
No. I heard that they keep taping on that show until someone cries.
I can believe that.
And that sometimes it can go on as long as 6 hours.
Where did the collar thing come from? Is it? I'd love to think it's an Elvis thing.
You sound like one of those cab drivers. Every cab driver I get. So where did the big collar come from?
Is that right? Is that the question?
Yeah. When are you going to bring back TV Burp? You used to be a doctor. It's like the worst thing to be if you're a comedian in a cab.
Yeah.
Here's one for you. Or if you're a doctor. Yeah, I've got a problem with my sister's got a rash on her back. And if you're both, it's a very toxic combination. Now, well, the true answer is, Rob, I just like the look. I used to go to, I used to go on the tube to gigs I had one shirt that had a big collar, and I used to wear it, and I used to wear suits from charity shops. And in the 90s and 80s, when I sort of started, in the charity shops, there were suits from the 60s. So I used to wear a 60s suit and a big collar. And then people used to say to me, "Oh, that big collar's good. Yeah, that's good. Keep that in." And so then when I got a bit of money, I started having them made.
With even bigger collars.
Even bigger collars. The truth is, it was a bit of luck.
Yeah.
It was just a bit of luck, because actually it's very difficult to find a look if you're a bloke that hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
That people remember that.
So you responded to, it's that classic thing of, you did something on stage, they liked it, and you went,
keep it in.
I'll do that then, yeah. I'll keep doing that.
Yeah, keep it in. And I had hair when I started, and that was a big decision.
What, having hair?
To shave that off, yeah.
Music is the reason you're here. I like to think it's just to spend a little time with your old friend Rob, but no, you've written another musical.
I've met you a handful of times, Rob.
You've met me more than a handful of times, Harry. Perhaps they just mean more to me than they do to you. I reckon we've met 12 to 14 times.
You think?
Do you not think so?
Let's count them.
Okay. The last time was a funeral, 1.
Barry Cryer's funeral.
That was 1. Okay.
Ronnie Corbett's funeral. There's a pattern.
Hello, welcome to Funeral Count. My guest today is Harry Hill. Harry, you've had a wide-ranging career, but how many funerals have you been to? Do you know what?
About 12.
Do you know what? That's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea.
Not
Someone
a bad
write that
idea.
down.
Okay, so yeah, Barry's and Ronnie's. Okay, that thing, the singing
The singing thing, 3.
Did you organise that?
I did organise it.
Right, that was your wonderful event.
Yeah.
Okay, when else?
We took Anne Corbett out for lunch.
Yes, we went for lunch, didn't we?
Ronnie's wife.
Yes, that's 4.
That's 4. It's not looking like 12,
have we done I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue together?
No.
No?
See, I don't really do those sort of shows, do I? Those panel shows.
you above- are you above
No, I
them?
do that one.
Are you above? Oh, so yeah. What are you talking about?
But I don't tend to do things where we wouldn't be booked together, you see.
I know, but my question was very specific. Did we do? I'm sorry, I haven't got a clue together. And you said I don't really do those shows. Well, I do that.
Well, I
one.
was thinking about panel shows we might have been on.
Right. No.
Did we meet with Lee Mack? We have a mutual friend in Lee Mack.
Yes. I think of him very much as a colleague.
Yeah.
We've jumped around because I was saying music. We got on to talking about music.
Oh, why I'm here.
And that's the reason that you're here, because you've written.
I knew there was a reason.
You weren't just passing. Tell us about Tony Blair, the musical.
Tony Blair, the musical, yeah. So me and Steve Brown. Do you know Steve?
Well, I know him as Glenn Ponder. But
Glenn
yes,
Ponder.
I do know. I know Steve a bit, yeah.
He gets such a kick from being recognised as Glenn Ponder. Yeah, I mean, he's old now. And
explain to the listener who Glenn Ponder was.
Glenn Ponder was the sort of musical director on
Knowing Me, Knowing You.
Me, Knowing You.
Yeah.
He's done music for me for years, ever since the Channel 4 days. He wrote the legendary TV highlight of the week.
Yeah.
That's him singing that.
Yeah.
But his love is musical theatre.
Mm.
And he wrote a musical called Spend, Spend, Spend.
Yes. About the Pools winner.
About Viv Nicholson, yeah, which went pretty well. And so together, every now and then I persuade him to write another one. And the latest is Tony Blair the Musical. So
it's an obvious choice. How did it come about?
I don't know. I honestly can't remember how I came up with the idea.
You can't remember how you came up with it?
I wish, the truth is, what I was looking for, I thought what would be funny is a serious story set to silly music. That was the original idea. And so I wrote this thing and I thought someone had sent me a double CD of vintage. It's called Vintage Cheese. It's an excellent double album if you can get it. And it's bubblegum pop. It's basically songs from the 70s. Yeah. So it's like Knock Three Times,
yes.
Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep.
Yeah.
I'd like to teach the world to sing, all that stuff. Do the Bump was another one on it. Do you remember that?
Kenny.
Kenny.
There's a new dance that is going around. Do the bump. Do the bump. And where did it go then? Hey, hey, rock and roll.
Nice and slow.
Where's your mama gone?
Where's your mama gone?
Oh, coming in bass there. I don't remember that.
Anyway, so I wrote this thing and I thought it would be funny to take the mickey out of those jukebox musicals at the same time making a sort of a good jukebox musical.
Yeah.
And kind of, Anyway, so I wrote this thing and I got some people in to read it and sing it. And I got Steve to play the piano in like a rehearsal room. And it turns out, it became clear after 5 or 6 minutes that one of those songs on their own is great. Steve said to me, really what you need for this is original tunes. And it took me a long time to persuade him.
I read that your last musical, the X Factor musical.
Did you see that, Rob?
I didn't see it.
You're not alone.
I was.
I'm yet to find anyone who bought a ticket. Lots of people have seen it.
I read that you regretted starting it at the Palladium, where you've got bucket loads of seats to fill. Yeah. And I read, is this true, that you wish it had just had more of a genesis and it had grown?
Well, I didn't know the first thing about musicals. I don't even like musicals, if I'm honest.
You don't?
No. I mean, one or two I like. No, but coming back to your thing about the X Factor musical, I didn't know the first thing about musicals. And basically for TV Burp, I used to be the one that would watch X Factor.
Yes.
So all the X Factor jokes were my jokes. And I would, I would finish writing TV Burp on a Saturday. I'd start Saturday morning, finish writing it. Then I'd go downstairs, have a few drinks, and with the family, we'd watch TV Burp, right? Because we'd write it a week ahead. Yeah. I'd write it a week ahead. I'd force the kids to watch it. And then after TV Burp was the X Factor. So then I would then watch the X Factor, but often I'd be drunk. Right. And I remember watching the the final of X Factor 20, must have been 2011. And I had this blinding inspiration. I thought an X Factor musical, right? So
you were drunk.
Yeah, I was drunk. So literally the next day, I text Peter Fincham, head of ITV, and say, how would I go about getting an X Factor musical off the ground? He said, you need to talk to Simon. He said, what a good idea. He said, you need to talk to Simon Cowell. He said, I'm seeing him today. I'll mention it. Right?
The stars were aligning.
It's just like this is how you get into these things.
Yeah.
This is how trouble starts. And so then I don't hear for a couple of days, and I text him any news. Did you talk to? Yes, he loves the idea. Do you want me to organise a meeting? So then me and Steve go in for this meeting with Simon Cowell. And what I did was, because someone told me he didn't have a very long attention span. So I thought, right, I'll get some storyboards made up. I wrote this story. Steve wrote a song. And so we go into his office, and his right-hand man, do you know Nigel Hall?
Yes.
Yeah, who's like one of the most camp people I've ever met, and is wonderfully funny and indiscreet. He came out and said, Simon's on his way. He's a bit late. All right, so fine. You can sit here and have a cup of coffee. 20 minutes later, Simon's left the house.
Oh,
Yeah. 40 minutes later, Simon's on the West Way. Simon's in the building. Here's Simon. And he walks in a kind of cloud of smoke because he's smoking, even though you're not allowed to smoke in the Sony building. And he sits down, and I say to him, look, Simon, this is just the story. It's not all the jokes. So it's not that funny.
Yeah.
It's just what we're thinking of doing. And then we've got this song at the end. And I start telling this story again. I've got these storyboards, and he is literally laughing his head off. Steve plays the song, and literally Simon is singing along with the song, right? And the song, they told us that they had banned 2 words from the production meetings at the X Factor, which was, you're not allowed to say journey, and you're not allowed to say dream, right? So Steve wrote this song called I'm Dreaming of a Journey on My Journey to a Dream. I'm dreaming of a journey on my journey to a dream. And Simon and Nigel are both singing along. We get to the end of the song, and Simon said, that's great. It's great, fellas, but it could do with a key change. And Steve says, no. Yeah. And the whole thing just went really frosty.
Why would he say that?
Because he has an opinion. Simon is so enamored with the whole thing. He says, the magic words, it's a yes from me.
Did he really?
Yeah, and he's obviously very aware of that.
Yeah.
And we both came out, and when he says that to you, this is the weird thing with Simon Cowell, you feel as if all doors are open. You feel suddenly powerful. You're in the court of the king.
Oh, that's funny.
And we stumble out of that meeting, and we look at each other, and we say, bloody hell, we're actually going to have to do this.
Yeah.
So we, next day, right, I'm on a train to see my brother, and the phone rings. It's Nigel. And he says, great meeting yesterday. Simon's really excited about it. He said, how important is Steve? I thought, here we go.
Oh, my word.
Yeah. I said, well, he writes the songs, He's quite important. I said, I can't do it without Steve. And he said, yeah, but he can't argue with Simon. I said, well, he didn't argue. He said, no one argued. He said, believe me, he said, that's the closest anyone's come to arguing with Simon for
that's
15
hilarious.
Years. Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, what is your stomach kind of going, at this point? What are you thinking?
I think, oh, God.
You're in at the
deep end. It was all too easy. So I phoned Steve. I said, look, all right, I'll have a word with Steve. So I phoned Steve up, and I said, listen, I said, he's come back to me, and he's a bit anxious. That you are. He said, listen, he said, I've had arguments with bigger people than Simon Cowell. I said, no, you're not listening, Steve. Because I was thinking this could be the gravy train. right? I looked it up. At that time, X Factor was playing in 86 countries in the world.
Exactly,
I was thinking we've got X Factor musicals in Beijing, Moscow.
I mean, you weren't getting ahead of yourself, were you? But,
well, I was.
No, I know. Yeah.
I was drunk, Rob.
You're still drunk from watching it.
I'd spent the money. I'd promised my wife a new fridge.
So what happened?
So Steve said, uncharacteristically, he said, all right. He said, listen. He said, I'll do the songs. If Simon doesn't like them. If Simon doesn't like them, we'll get someone else in.
Okay.
All right, which was very generous. The truth is, Steve has confidence in his abilities. And one of the things Simon loved so much about the musical was the songs.
Great. Yeah.
So we never had any notes really from Simon
Really?
about the songs. The only note we got was about a week before we opened. This email, right, which I've still got. He says, I do feel that my character is made to look a little ridiculous. He said, and the idea that I am the father of the hunchback. I mean, yeah. He said, and although I was behind the Power Rangers song, I was also behind One Direction. Could we not mention that? It was a little bit snippy.
Oh.
I thought, the game's up. So I said to the director, I said, what do we do about this? He said, just ignore it. So we just ignored it. We didn't do any changes, and he was fine about it. He never mentioned it.
You
again.
must have been giddy through a lot of the phases when it was green lights and doors opening.
Yeah.
And do you want the Menier chocolate factory? Do you want the Palladium?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't make that decision. He came to us, but I mean, it was the producers that decided to go to the Palladium, and it was crazy. And I remember going there. Me and Steve went up when they were putting the set in, and I stood at the back of the dress circle, and I turned to him and I said, "Well, there's no way we'll fill it. I give it 6 weeks," and it ran for about 6 weeks.
We nearly went to this earlier. Mid-90s.
Yeah.
On my own.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why. I came and saw you. We'd never met at the Richmond Theatre, and you were superb.
Oh, really?
Crying with laughter.
No, come on.
No, really. But the thing I remember, because I was starting to do gigs then and stuff, so I had a particular interest.
Yeah.
What I remember was being so delighted. I didn't know where you were going to go.
Yeah.
So, so you can see great comedians, but you kind of know where they're going to go, and you enjoy it, and it's wonderful. But so much of what you did, I just went, and I was just laughing and I was on my own, and all around me.
Oh, thanks, Rob. I appreciate that.
I think I must have told you this before.
No.
I couldn't tell where you were going to go.
Yeah.
So you'd be getting towards the punch. I'd be thinking, all right, well, is he going to go here? Is he going to... What? It was one where you had the cat, Stufa.
Yeah.
And you're going along the front. Do you like cats?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you like cats? Yeah,
Yeah.
And you said something like, do you like cats? They said yes. And you said, have you got one? And they said no. And you, well, get one. You yelled.
Get a cat.
Get a cat. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my memory of it. Is that you yelled, and you had a guy on the stage. You got them to come close to the cat.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it was about. I'd say I'd keep going down the row until I found someone who didn't like cats, and I'd say, "You're scared of cats, aren't you?"
That's right.
And I'd force them up on stage, and I'd say, "I'm going to desensitize you to cats." I had this rubber cat, Stufa, and I would get progressively closer and closer, and I'd be sort of screaming in his face. And the punch, there wasn't even a punchline. It was just sort of anticlimax type punchline.
Yeah.
I said, I can't even remember what the punchline was. And I remember one night I picked on a guy. He said, "Don't like cat." I said, "Well, come on up," and he's sort of shaking his head. And you know that thing, if you let someone off, as soon as they know, the audience know they don't have to do it.
Yes.
No one will come up.
That's right.
So you have to force them. So I said, "No, come on up," and all the people around him are shaking their head at me.
Oh God, right.
Again, he's blind.
Yeah.
He's a blind bloke.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a visual joke.
How are you finding the slog of the tour of touring now?
Well, I really enjoyed it.
Really?
I have to
What
say.
age are your kids? What age are your oldest kids?
Well, this is the thing. They're the youngest is 18.
Oh, so they're kind of doing their own thing, aren't they?
So I have an odd relationship with touring in that I
What
love
you're going to say with my
shows.
children then, right?
Well, I certainly have that because I love the shows, and I don't, I much prefer doing my own thing. I don't really like being on a bill anymore. I love the whole thing of choosing the music as the audience file in.
Yes, I
the
agree.
Music as they file
Yes,
out,
I like that as well.
designing the program, the poster, any merchandise. This tour,
What's the music as they file out? What song comes on once you've got off the stage and they're still clapping?
Yeah, I went back to an old favourite of mine, which is this song by Catherine Howe. Catherine Howe? Not the one that was married to Henry VIII. It's called Harry. It's called Harry.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There's the sun, the moon, and Harry. So, and what I like about that is that it's sort of like a sad song or a very sweet song. And I like this idea that everyone's been laughing and, you get to that peak and then suddenly you...
Yeah.
Well, this tour, I got carried out by the audience. I engineered a way that I sort of forced the audience to carry me out, 2 people from the audience to carry me out. And I would be carried out to Russ Conway playing I've Got a Lovely Bunch of Coconuts. So
where do they take you? Out into the front of house or something?
It was a lovely moment for me. It was just a really funny thing that I would be there because there would be a moment. Well, I would sort of pick on these 2 guys and say, I'd say there's this thing that started that, it's a bit embarrassing, but at the end of the show, every night so far anyway, 2 guys have jumped up and offered to carry me to my car. Right? I said, I don't expect it. I certainly don't expect it. It's just a thing. All I'm thinking is that if you are thinking about it, it might be as well just to work out who's going to do what, right? So then I picked 2 at random. So it's a risk. And I sing at the end of the show, I sing My Way backwards.
How does that work?
So my point is that I say, at the end of lesser entertainers, I say at this point, will sing My Way, right? A song that celebrates difference, but by everyone singing it in exactly the same way, it completely negates the whole point of the song. So I'm going to sing My Way, right? And I sing it backwards. So I sing, now and near is in the face, ISO and curtain final the. Yeah, I've learned the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah, tragic. And I can't sing it forwards anymore, in fact. I'm so used to singing it backwards. And then I look down at the end. So it's a big ending. So, it's great because you get to sing My Way in a way. And that is such a great end to a show.
Yeah.
But you're doing it differently. And there's a joke at the end. And I look down and I make them come up.
Yeah.
And they carry me out.
Yeah.
And so and as they're carrying me, I'm going to them, up here, towards the edge. Because I had to work out.
Yeah.
And there's a moment we get to the foyer and it's just us in the foyer. Everyone is sort of clapping in the hall.
Yeah.
And I just, they put me down and I say, thanks very much, guys. And they might do a selfie. But I've really got to get a move on because I've got to get out.
Before the applause.
Before the audience start.
Oh, that's it. You don't go back out to take a bow. That's it. That's it. You're gone.
That's it. And I don't want to be, if I'm in the foyer when the audience come out, I never get
That's
back.
right. Yeah.
And a couple of times that happened. And so then there's a really, my favourite bit of the show in many ways was then it's like, 10 o'clock at night, it's dark in a strange town and I'm walking round the theatre to the stage door by myself.
Yes.
And I can hear this sort of noise.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. And it's a nice moment.
Will you be looking to go back out on the road sooner?
Yeah, I think I will.
Are you already working on the next show?
I am.
Yeah.
I did. I tried out some material last night, funny enough.
Last night?
Yeah, in this weird club.
Did you just pop up as a surprise or did you advertise it on Twitter and so your fans came?
I didn't. I mean...
Or somebody did.
Somebody did, I guess.
Yeah, because I remember Ms. McIntyre said that to me. He said, don't just pop up in the club. Mention it somewhere so it's your audience that are coming to see you.
Otherwise, I mean, sometimes it's good to try stuff out in front of people who don't like you.
Yes. No, I know. It's different, isn't it? Harry, delight. Thanks so much for doing this. Really enjoyed it. Could have gone on for another 5 or 6 minutes.
We
I
ought
think.
to mention the
course
Tony
we should.
Blair. We
Come
didn't
on.
really.
Harry's got a new musical that I'm excited about. Tony Blair, the Rock Opera.
Yes.
Where can, if a person now, if their interest has been piqued, where would they go?
It's on at the Leicester Square Theatre.
Lovely, lovely space.
It's perfect for the show.
Yeah.
21st of till the 21st of May.
Right.
And then it goes around the country. So it's going to Guildford, it's going to Cardiff, it's going to Brighton, it's going all over. And it's going up to Edinburgh for a month.
Oh, fantastic.
So, yeah.
All right.
Please go and see it.
Well, if not from me, Harry himself is urging you to go and see it. And I can think of nobody I'd rather be urged by than Harry Hill. Harry, thank you.
My pleasure.